My great-grandfather, Thomas Mott Osborne, was born in Auburn, New York in 1859. He is of Quaker stock, and his mother and his grandmother and his great-aunt were all very active feminists. In Auburn is a large maximum security prison that was built in 1814, and it figures very prominently in the life of Auburn because of the size and fact that it's a maximum security prison. And people are constantly concerned about prisoners and their effect on the citizens of Auburn. Now, this took my great-grandfather, he took it to heart, and on a tour of Auburn prison, he saw the barbarity of the conditions inside the prison, and took it upon himself to exercise a great experiment. He presented himself at the warden's office September 29th, 1913, as Tom Brown, prisoner 33,333. He went in to live the life of a prisoner in order to understand the conditions that were in the prison. Now, he was a gentleman who could not have been further from the life of a prisoner, and no one could understand why he would care, but he did. The men came to know him and respect him and call him friend. He wrote a book called Within Prison Walls, which essentially blew the lid off of the barbarity that the prison system was at the time. He then went on to Sing Sing prison here down in Ossining, which was even worse than Auburn in terms of the conditions. There was no, at the time that he was warden there was no indoor plumbing. There was no bedding. You slept in your clothes. There was no heat during the winter. Here he is being greeted by the men. His reputation preceded him, and the men at Sing Sing were grateful that they had an advocate and someone so powerful. This is the corridor of the old block at Sing Sing, which was still in use at the time. The cells themselves were about 3 feet wide, about 7 feet long, and sometimes they had 2 men per cell. That trench that run down the middle is exactly what you'd imagine it would be. He brought to Sing Sing a new idea, the Mutual Welfare League, whereby the men themselves would judge each other and look after each other. Previous slide was the court system. They had their own currency, which they could earn and trade with. They had their own band, which brought a different kind of intelligence and a different kind of feeling into the prison. Here's the band practice. You see the Mutual Welfare League and the banner in the back. And my understanding is that they were quite good. They even had concerts in the city. So they were, it was a successful program. Unfortunately, Tammany Hall reached very, their reach was into Sing Sing as well. And he was charged with malfeasance and inappropriate behavior by Westchester County, and he stepped down as warden in order to fight the charges. This is a photograph of his return to Sing Sing after the charges had been dropped, and he continued as warden there for the next 2 years. The Mutual Welfare League, which originally started as a group outside of the prison, came into the prison, and then it immediately went back out. While it remained in the prison, It was through periodicals such as this that they began to advertise the state of the current criminal justice, the changes in the criminal justice systems that were possible. This is the old meeting room at the Mutual Welfare League in Auburn, because it brought they brought the Mutual Welfare League back to Auburn. And again, the men there were able to socialize freely and talk amongst themselves, which they hadn't been able to do before. I love this picture because this is him during the speaking tour towards the end of his life, this is at Wells College. He spoke at the graduation for Wells College. And I can't imagine what those girls were thinking, what the women were thinking when he got up there and started talking. Impressed, but, come on. This is a photograph of him as the commandant, as the naval prison in Portsmouth. He went undercover there to root out corruption there. This is a statue of him that stands in Auburn, New York, and it was paid for, better part of it was paid for by formerly incarcerated individuals. He's holding forth the Book of Life, and he has the manacles at his side. This is probably his most famous quote. "Shall our prisons be scrap heaps or human repair shops?" And that's the credo that he believed in, and the Osborne Association still works with today. Thank you so much.